Over the years, Hyundai, or Hyundai to normal people, has reinvented itself as a manufacturer of crazy retro looking EVs with the odd hot hatch thrown in. Back in my day, they were known as purveyors of small, affordable hatchbacks like this i10. So in this video, we're going to find out if the Hyundai i10 has been neglected and forgotten about, or if it should still be on your shopping list if you're in the market for a small car that won't break the bank. In these days of cars getting ever more expensive, you'll probably be pleased to know the i10 is vaguely affordable. It starts from £15,000, going up to £18,000 for this more aggressive looking N-line version, and that gets you some red bits here, bigger 16-inch alloys and slightly fancier projector headlights, but it also gets you access to the best engine in the i10 range, which is a 1-litre engine with a turbo, but we'll get onto that in a bit. It is still a small car though. It's only 3.6 odd meters long, so it's nice and compact, but it's got a reasonably sensibly high roof, so I should be able to fit in the back in a minute, which I kind of want to do because it's freezing out here. Now, although it's a small car, you probably still want some boot space, and the i10, it's got a pretty reasonable boot for a small car. It's 252 litres, which makes it almost the same as the Kia Picanto's boot space and a fair bit bigger than a Fiat Panda. The parcel shelf doesn't have any strings on it, which is kind of standard in a small car like this. It does feel a little bit cheap, but the space, it's big enough for one large suitcase or a couple of carry-on bags. There are no clever features in there. There aren't even any hooks. It's just a little boot mat with some space underneath where you would normally have a spare wheel, but these days you just don't get one. Now, I've hopped behind the camera to show you the interior of the i10. It's really impressive for a small car. Admittedly, this is a top spec one, but even entry-level versions get this 8-inch infotainment screen with wireless Apple CarPlay and Android Auto. You don't normally get wireless that on many much more expensive cars. And you also get a heated steering wheel and heated seat on this N-line version. I should say though that all i10s get a reversing camera as well. The driving position is also quite comfortable. You don't feel twisted, but we'll get onto that in a second. It's just a very impressive feeling cabin. I mean, sure, it's cheap and plasticky in places, but it's an affordable car, so we kind of expect that. Back seat space in the i10 is actually pretty impressive for a small car. I'm quite tall, 6'3". That's my driving position, and I'm nowhere near touching the seat with my knees. And I've got space under that seat for my trotters as well. I've got enough headroom to be getting on with, although that feels a little bit low when I'm getting in and out. There's even a flat floor, so your middle seat passenger, because it is a 5-seater, won't be too cramped, but I wouldn't recommend putting 3 adults back here for long journeys still, but 2 will be just fine. I've also got a single USB-C and a cup holder down there, and big door bins too. So for a small car back here, it's surprisingly good. Right, so far then, the i10 looks like a nice, practical, small package with lots of tech features, but what's it actually like to drive? Let's go and find out. Right, we're going to go for a quick drive in the Hyundai i10, and the first thing you really notice when you're driving it is, one, how easy it is to see out of, but also how good the turning circle is. It's only about a metre bigger than the turning circle in a London taxi, and then the next thing you notice is how good this 1-litre 3-cylinder turbocharged engine is. It's got 100 horsepower, which doesn't sound like much, but in this car it gets you up to 50 and 60 really quite quickly. The downside is you can only get it on expensive top spec N-line models, which are £18,000. Your other options are a 1-litre engine without a turbo. That's got about 67 horsepower, which again doesn't sound like much, but it'll be fine if you mostly drive around town. Then you've got a 1.2-litre engine with about 85 horsepower, which is somewhere in the middle. But yeah, it's a really comfortable car to drive. Some small cars on bumpy roads like this feel a bit wayward and all over the place and roly-poly. This doesn't. It feels like a grown-up car. It feels quite tied down to the road, and when you go around corners you don't fall out of your seat either. Refinement of motorway speeds is also pretty good as well. You get a bit of tyre noise, but not much wind noise off the door mirrors, so it's quite a comfortable cruiser. Just bear in mind that you only get a 5-speed manual in any of the versions, or you get a 5-speed automated manual, which is what you would think of as an automatic gearbox, but one that doesn't really know what it's doing, and apparently it's just a bit jerky, a bit noisy, and not very good. Not to be recommended. But yeah, this 1-litre engine, it's got loads of pep. It makes the i10 good fun. So yeah, overall, it's refined, it's comfortable, it's got enough poke. I quite like it. But anyway, let's head back for a conclusion. At the start of this video, I suggested Hyundai has maybe forgotten how to make the cars that made it a household name in the UK, small affordable cars, but has it? Well, no, this i10 is really quite impressive. There's nothing I don't like about it really. It's got reasonably practical back seats and practical boot. Actually, I do dislike the fact that this 1 litre turbo engine's only available on expensive N-line models, but that's kind of fine. If you want a more affordable model, those other smaller engines are going to be okay for most uses. It looks a little bit quirky perhaps, and you might not like the slightly alien bug face, but for what you're getting for the money in terms of the technology and just the cabin space, it's a very impressive car. Thank you ever so much for watching. If it's been helpful, please hit like, subscribe to the Motorpoint YouTube channel because we've got plenty more interesting car reviews coming soon, and go down to the comments and leave me the Korean word for rear seat space. See you next time.